All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday afternoon with my man Rio breaking down 8 games on DraftKings. There is 3 games on FanDuel, 11 total. Do have a solid night slate, 3 games. We do have a good showdown slate. We will be focusing on the 8 games on DraftKings, though. Rio, how you doing, man? I love the hat. How's it been? Been a full week since I've talked to you. How's the association been treating you?
It's been good. I've had a really good week so far. And Monday was a really profitable night for a lot of our members. I know our guy Little Neck had a really, really good night that night. Last night had a lot of winners, a lot of screenshots. I was lucky enough to win Showdown last night. Obviously, it was a pretty big chop, but still nice to get the profitable night nonetheless. But yeah, it's been definitely a grind this week. This is a marathon type week with so many games. Luckily, we get a nice little break tomorrow, 1 game slate, but back at it on Friday with the in-season tournament stuff. Yeah, been really fun though. Yesterday was a lot of fun games, and I am excited tonight. Back to the 1 hour lock window, so not really needed to do much late swap tonight. But I still think there are some stuff in the later games that could provide us a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, I like hearing that. That's one of the first things I always do. Look how many games are on the slate. 8 games. Then I look at how are they spaced out. Do we have to be in front of our computer all day today? 1 game at 7 p.m. Eastern. Couple games at 7:30, couple games at 8 Eastern. You're good to go after that. Can have a little break, get dinner, whatever you got to do. Night slate, then check out that showdown content. I am sharing the Stone over here. Have the Stone for all the sports at SHIPIT Nation. NBA showdown, though, our man Rio always takes care of you. The slate plan, we have our projections. Talked about the shipper yesterday. Congrats to you. Little Neck, shout out to you. Always grinding, giving great content in the Discord as well. If you do want to join us, again, all you got to do, shipitnation.com. This is our best deal. This is with NBA 15 or all access. Include Shiptimizer for every sport. Content for all these sports, which all of them are going on, I believe, except NASCAR and, of course, MLB. But big boy MMA card this week. John Jones. I know my man Rio will be in chat. No better college football team out there. Shout out them. My science and my gym middle school teacher. I said the story on the Sunday show, but they hit me up on Saturday. They said, man, college football is the nuts. Less sharks in there. They've had to sweat a lot of weeks. He won like $200. So shout out to them. Again, no better time. If you just want single sports, just projections, go right here to join the nation. You can check out all of our deals. NBA, the Stone, that's what we're talking about. Before we go game by game, got to always say hi to people in chat. A lot of people in here. Let's go. Go Collect, Sean Sullivan, Paraby, Nate D, Wins a Lot, Marquis, Little Neck, Nades, Charlie, Michael Ortiz, Philly Fan, Richard, Gangrene, William, Wardo, Dirty, Jasmine. What's going on, Jasmine? Primetime, Evan, Max, Holy Christmas, Ryan, XXX, Michael W, Richard, Chris. I hope I got everyone. If I missed you, I definitely do apologize. Rio, anything slick? What's going on? Any broad slate overview? Anything you want to say before we go game by game? Anyone you want to say hi to or specifically shout out? Go ahead.
No, I think you covered it all. Yeah, I don't know. At first the slate looks kind of gross just because there's some very ugly games, but the more that I started to go through them and research the games, when I was putting up the slate plan, I started to get a little bit more excited because I do think there are some fun games to attack. But I guess we can just go game by game and we'll kind of break that down as we go along. But yeah, this is a pretty solid slate in my eyes. The prizes are a little bit weird. They got that $5 $150 max on DraftKings again. They're not really doing the $4.20 max, which is kind of rough. I like that tournament a lot, but yeah, still some money to be won. Should have some pretty big prize pools for Showdown tonight as well.
For sure. I always enjoy the 5 because I feel better if I want to throw in like 50 or 75. I know I'm not going to go broke. You cash some, but again, the late swap edge, not really too much today with all the games locked within an hour. My quick one, Stars and Scrubs, it looks like with Giannis being so strong at 11.5, feels underpriced. Not a great game yesterday, but plenty of value on today's slate as well. I mean, there's a billion Q takes too. There's only going to be more value. Open up, if anything, obviously can go mid-tier build, but Giannis is the spend, enough value. You do have other spends as pivots, though. My quick overview, let's go slate by slate. Rio's going to lead the ship. I will chime in if I see needed. First game of the night, Indiana Pacers taking on the Orlando Magic. 224 total. Again, the only game that locks at 7 Eastern. Magic 1-point favorites. Injury news on the Pacers side. No Andrew Nembhard. No Aaron Nesmith. Obi Toppin questionable. Not big injury stuff here. Orlando side. No Wendell Carter. No Paulo, of course, for a little while. In terms of ownership in this game, Rio, again, it is on an island. I don't think we see too much. I think Franz gets some. I think Miles Turner gets a bit. Outside of that, don't think this game sees too much. Again, looking at the stone, Miles Turner a little bit. I do think Mathurin might get some. Tyrese still down there price tag wise. Franz, and then nobody else on the Magic side. Do you agree with ownership? Is that how you see the game? Any sneaky plays in this one?
Yeah, it seems like the Pacers and the Magic kind of always, their ownership is always a little held in check just because they always play the first game of the night. And whenever we have these big slates, like people don't want to roster guys in the early games in case value opens up. And I would say this is probably not the best game environment on the slate, but it is decent. Pacers are kind of back to their old ways of playing defense last year where they were playing fast, giving up a ton of points at the rim, taking away three-pointers. And I feel like I mention this every time with Orlando when they're in these types of spots. Like they're one of the highest frequency rim scoring teams in the league. So it's definitely a good spot offensively for some of these Magic guys. In terms of the Magic defense, they're playing really well right now again. So not really a spot where there's a lot of exploits for the Pacers offensively. But, I mean, the injury stuff is like semi-big because those are some big rotation guys. Obviously, Nembhard, it's their backup point guard / starting shooting guard. He's taking up like 30 minutes a night, so it definitely will free up some. And then the Obi Toppin stuff could free up, backup center minutes. And Jarris Walker, I think, would be a guy that would probably see a handful more minutes. He's more of a 3-4, but should be able to mix in for some front court minutes regardless. On the Pacers side, though, outside of that, Tyrese Halliburton has been very tough to nail this season because he's starting to shoot the ball a little bit better. The role is kind of returning back to where it was last year, where his usage was, pretty solid. The touch time is coming up a little bit. The potential assists are coming up a lot. Magic have been slightly below average DVP-wise versus point guards, so this is a decent spot for him. I do find it a little bit difficult to pay. I mean, the price tag is good, but point guard, there's some pretty good value there tonight. There's a couple of guys I like as spend ups a little bit more than Halliburton, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to get to. It's just really tough because I know that he does have the upside to really bury you for not playing him, but luckily he's been off of the main slates for the most part where he does have those big games. I believe the game against Dallas, he wasn't on the main slate, and then the game against the Knicks, I believe, was over the weekend where he put up 65 DK points. So if he's kind of ramping up a little bit, then I want to get some. We got to remember that last year during the in-season tournament was kind of when he made that crazy run where he started to play like a 10K player. Maybe he's, ramping up a little bit and just kind of wants to start to be more aggressive and hopes to win win this year after losing in the finals last year. Obviously, this is not an in-season tournament game. I'm just saying that this is going to be leading up to the in-season tournament, so maybe that's kind of in the back of his mind. But that's kind of my spiel on Halliburton. A little tough to nail down. I'm not looking to get to Siakam, though. Very tough matchup against the Magic. Very good, taking away the things that he does best, scoring in the mid-range and around the basket. So I won't be getting to – I'll probably just X out Siakam personally. Turner, always like him as a high upside option. He's going to be playing a ton of minutes now. They're just really thin in the front court. And if Obi Toppin were to miss, probably getting 36 to 39 out of Turner tonight. And he's always been a very good fantasy point-per-minute guy. Last time we talked about the Pacers, I mentioned that Rick Carlisle wanted him to start to rebound more. He got double-digit boards in 3 out of his last 4 games, so you kind of have that double-double upside to fall back on if he's not shooting the ball all that well. And he does have the big blocks upside, so I like Turner a bit. And then Bennedict Mathurin playing really good right now since he's taken over for Aaron Nesmith, who's going to be missing a pretty long time right now. He's played no less than 32 minutes, topped 40 minutes twice, scored no less than 31 DK points, and he's averaging 40.7 DK points over his last 6 games. So he looks like a really, really strong mid-tier option. He's probably my top play on the Pacers side. And I think like a guy, TJ McConnell, you could always keep in your pool just because he's got that huge upside like a Peyton Pritchard. off the bench. So yeah, I like him a little bit. And then Jarris Walker, his outlook would improve a lot if Obi were to miss. On the Magic side, it's really just Franz and Goga, I think. Franz is playing really well right now, and the crazy thing is his minutes are kind of down. Like, he only played 32 against Charlotte, put up 55 DK points, played 29 against Washington, and those were two big blowouts. The last time he was really needed for big minutes was against Indy, where he played 39, put up 28 points, 46 and a half DK points. He is priced up, and I kind of mentioned it yesterday. I don't know if he was optimal with 55. He was 8.4K last night, I believe, but it's just really hard for him to have that kind of had to have it ceiling that we need at the 8.4K. But I do like his matchup a lot. This is a very weak rim defense. He should be able to get up a ton of points here. And this game is projected to stay close. Indy favored by 1. So, yeah, I mean, if we get like 36 to 38 out of him, he could put up another really strong game. So I like Franz a good bit. I don't think I'm going to get to Suggs on a back-to-back. He rolled his ankle last game. Came out of the locker room, was fine, but he's expensive. Very strong position. And then Goga, he played 32 minutes last time these teams played. A little revenge spot against Rick Carlisle, too. 30 minutes, sorry. But he's been really good outside of last night where he busted in another really good matchup.
1%, 2% Mo Wagner? He's been good.
Yeah, definitely would be max 1 Mo and Goga just because they kind of eat into each other. But, yeah, for sure. Always interested in Mo. He's just been a very, very solid point per minute guy in his career. So, yeah, I like that shout.
Yeah. My favorite's by far the Turner. Last week, you absolutely nailed it with the rebounding stuff. Any center that can play upper 30s minutes. I mean, he shot 5 threes last game, so he can shoot threes. They want him to rebound, stock upside. Like, he has the upside to obviously break slates. The Franz stuff, if you're going to go more mid-tier, like, you can go to this game. You fill out Franz, Miles Turner. There's definitely strong plays in the mid-tier if you want to avoid some value. The Giannis of the world obviously can still go Giannis and Franz. That's really all I see, though. Miles Turner, Franz. If you want to go Wagner. On this 8-game slate, like, you can't miss with Tyrese stuff. I'd probably would rather take a wait-and-see approach there. So I don't love this first game much. Again, it's on an island. And then this next game we're going to get to, not much interest at all on my side either. Boston, big favorites, 8.5-point favorites. Over the Nets, we have a 218.5 total. Injury stuff, though. Al Horford is out. And then on the Brooklyn side, Dorian Finney-Smith questionable. Ben Simmons questionable. I believe that was midday downgrade for Simmons. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And do you think it'll be Queta that starts, I assume, for Boston? Or do you think, I mean, sometimes it's Ben Cornette when we think it's Ben Queta. To be honest, though, regardless, center's tough, or center's good on this slate. Like, you can't miss. I thought Miles Turner is really strong. We're going to get to some other good ones. Big favorites, slow pace. I don't really love anyone in this one, but someone said Tatum. It can always be Tatum, but any leans for you? I personally fade this game, make it a 7-game slate.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it. I think that it should be Queta because he's played really well in some starts, spot starts for Horford this year. Yeah, I don't really think I want to get to the Boston side with all their main pieces outside of Horford fully healthy. There's just like too much. Like, they all kind of do enough to where last night was a high scoring game against Atlanta and nobody really hit value. I think Derek White maybe had the best salary multiplier, but nobody was really needed in GPPs. And I could kind of see that happening again tonight. You definitely hit it that these are two slow paced teams. Both teams are playing pretty solid defensively. Brooklyn's been getting a little bit better. They started off the season playing faster and they were pretty bad defensively, but it's kind of changed a little bit because Claxton back at the starting center now, and he looks healthy, playing full minutes. Yeah, I mean, if Simmons and Finney-Smith miss, that does open up some value in Clowney and Zaire Williams. I'm just not sure in comparison to some of the other really good value on the slate tonight how they would project. I would probably still prefer those other people because the opportunity is probably a little bit better. Matchup is surely going to be a lot better. So I think on the Brooklyn side, it's really just Claxton for me. But even then, I don't really have a ton of interest at 6K. I would rather get up to Miles Turner or some of the spend ups that we'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah, that's kind of it. I don't think I'm going to get to much of the Boston side. You could always make a case for Tatum, but the same thing. You got to compare him to the guys that are priced up there, like SGA. is up there, $300 more. Wemby, Giannis, like even some of the guys that are cheaper than Tatum look to project really well. So, yeah, probably an X out game. If anything, just like a max one on both sides.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. 0 players in that game. If you had 0 players in the first game, I think you're doing it fine too. But yeah, I'm not even going to say anyone. Queta probably is fine, but he's just center eligible and you only can play 2 max. Like Cam Thomas, guard forward eligibility, but man, game log's been tough. You always just know, like, the dude can shoot the ball 35 times if he starts off nice. He's going to be low owned, but still not my favorite slate to do it. Definitely not my favorite matchup, but like if they cover, if they somehow win it, it feels like Cam Thomas is probably having a game. Let's go to a much more appealing game for DFS, a lot higher in pace. You keep talking about these Bulls, as you see on the stone. A lot of great info on here. Pace, you compare that to these other teams, very high. Bulls is a team we like targeting. You check ownership in this game, though. All of them, all the starters on the Knicks above 10%. Only one for the Bulls, Zach LaVine, 10%. Looks to have a solid price tag. Knicks 7.5-point favorites. We have a 230.5 total. Injuries, nothing on the Bulls side to worry about. Knicks side, definitely though, 3 Q tags. Brunson, Miles McBride, and Campaign. Throw it to you right away. Do you have any leans on those Q tags? Again, game is at 7:30 Eastern. And then just start with the Knicks because I think the Bulls will be pretty quick for you. Rank them. How many is too many? These guys play a bunch of minutes, and it's a great matchup. So can you play 4? Can you play 5? Feels a little much, but they're all getting ownership. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, starting with the injuries, it's definitely the biggest on the slate because those are all their point guards. Like that's Jalen Brunson, obviously the starting point guard. McBride mixes in behind Brunson, and then Campaign. He's been out for a little bit. I still think that he's probably the most likely to sit because he's dealing with the hamstring and hasn't really done much in the practice facility. So I still think that he's got a good chance to sit. I would say that right now we could probably assume both Brunson and McBride are in just because this team, they're pretty durable. They play through injuries. So I don't see much of a reason for them to sit, and the spread would definitely be a lot lower if Brunson were to miss. So definitely assume him in and probably McBride as well. But yeah, you mentioned how good of a spot this is against the Bulls. This is like the Pacers of last year. They're playing the fastest paced team in the league right now are the Bulls. They're dead last in rim points and allowing the 8th most transition points. Knicks definitely play a lot slower and much better defensively. They've had some up and down defensive games. Definitely a lot more vulnerable to rim scoring. I don't know if you saw the stat, but Karl-Anthony Towns is allowing like 93% shooting at the rim on like 34 shots or something
Insane.
like that. Yeah, so that's what you traded for, but you knew that going in. Like he's not the greatest defender, but one of the most talented big men in the league for sure.
Do you think it shows like he's just better as a 4 on a team? Like he needs a traditional 5 to protect and he can stretch it enough or create mismatches enough to go against a smaller 4 to back him down?
I think it works like for this team's starting lineup because you have OG who kind of does everything and he can kind of, limit those weaknesses a little bit. I didn't get to watch the game against the Sixers, but I would imagine it was OG guarding Embiid and not Cat because he didn't get into foul trouble. So yeah, that's why I thought the trade made a ton of sense because they needed a stretch big, and they already had a ton of really good defenders, adding Bridges and OG there. So it made a ton of sense to bring in Cat. I think that, but yeah, I mean, it's like definitely he looked a lot better defensively alongside Gobert and Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to this game though, DFS wise. I'll just do the Bulls really quick because I think it is pretty easy to break down. LaVine is my favorite at 6.8K minutes limit, fully off, played 36 minutes last game. Not the best matchup, but not the worst against Mikal Bridges. Bridges not really the same lockdown defender as he was years prior, but still very good. And they're going to play fast pace. That's kind of where LaVine thrives. So I think that he's got the most upside. Kobe White would be the pivot off of him. He's only 1% owned and $200 more. If you have them both at shooting guard, you have the 200. Just know that Kobe's range of outcomes is very wide and kind of showed it last game. Put up 50 something against 47 against Cleveland. Had some teens games mixed in there, but like kind of been consistently in the 30s. I probably won't go there, but I do think Vooch is a little bit of a sneaky option just for the reasons we mentioned about Cat being not great defensively. Billy Donovan kind of been talking about getting him some more looks on offense as well. So a little bit of the squeaky wheel narrative. His upside definitely takes a bit of a hit sharing the court with Levine and Kobe and Giddey, but he definitely has the safest floor out of the starters. So yeah, it would just be Levine and Vooch for me on the Chicago side. And then on the Knicks side, I mean, all of these guys, the starters are in play and will for sure they're going to project really good because this is a great matchup, great pace of spot. I definitely like Cat the most, just because he's doing a little bit of everything right now. He's shooting the ball really well. He's starting to drive the ball a little bit more, a lot more aggressive. Pretty much had double-digit rebounds in almost every game this year, so double-double is very much in play. He's finally starting to get some ownership when he's been in like this 8K range and was looking at like, upper single digits. Now he's going to be probably 20 to 30+% owned, which makes it a little bit easier to get away from. But I do really like the matchup. So, and I want to have one of these Knicks on my teams. I'm not making that a rule, but I'd be very happy if I had one of these Knicks on all my rosters because I do expect one of them to get there. On paper, this is probably the best matchup Brunson has seen all season long. The Bulls are dead last in DVP versus point guards, allowing almost 19 points per game to pick and roll ball handlers. That's definitely where Brunson is going to thrive. Brunson's second in the league in touch time right now and drives per game. So the role is still there, just hasn't really flashed the upside. This will definitely be the spot for it, 8.6K. And it's kind of leverage off of Chalky Towns. He's still going to get some ownership too. But, man, he looks really good tonight. I'm kind of kicking myself for I think I cored Brunson on what day was it when they played Milwaukee on the 8th of November, so whatever, like 5 days ago. I'll talk about the Milwaukee stuff when we get there, but I'm kind of kicking myself for coring him that day. The matchup did look good, but there was a reason why I wanted to fade him. But tonight, yeah, Brunson looks really good, and then all of Hart, Bridges, and OG look really good. I think if I had to choose between the three, I like Hart the most just for his upside. I kind of mentioned yesterday in the show that he does have that triple-double upside, and this seems like a good game for him to get that as well. I just think that Hart plays much better in pace-up games. He's going to run the floor, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. The rebounding rates are really good. Assist numbers are really good. So, yeah, I definitely want to get to Hart. He's got the most upside out of the three in my eyes. And then I kind of agree with how it goes in ascending salary pricing. I like Bridges the next most just because I think this is probably the best matchup that he'll see all season long too. Chicago's second worst in DVP. Bridges is a pretty good transition scorer. Up-tempo play style should play right into his hands. So I like him. We haven't really seen a ceiling game from Bridges yet, but 5.8K is a very good price tag, and he's going to play upper 30s minutes. And there's nothing really bad I can say about OG either. He's played very good this season and really good as of late. Scored no less than 37 DK points in 3 straight games. I think he had 40 the game before that too. So, yeah, all these guys look really good. I have nothing negative to say. But, yeah, just keep an eye out for the injury stuff because if either one of Brunson or McBride or if any combination of those three guys miss, then Tyler Collect would be the guy that's going to see a pretty big usage bump.
Marquette boy. Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't expect them to all miss, though, where he comes in play. But if somehow both Brunson and McBride miss and campaign like you think, it definitely would be Kolek's season. And Tibbs would probably play him 38 minutes, and he'd play with a bunch of good guys and get open shots and be just fine. The Hart stuff, yeah, Rio spin fire about Hart. First of all, Rio spin fire about everything. Time out 1 second. Give us a like button for that breakdown. Awesome stuff by Rio. All we ask from you, like button and subscribe button goes a long way. But yeah, Josh Hart, I mean, anytime you can have a guy that shoots 8 times, 14% usage, and put up 51 DK points, always have interest in someone like that. Can just get there in so many ways. Cat's been so good. I do think he comes in like higher owned than Brunson, though. Probably the highest owned Nick on the slate. Pretty close because center is good, but man, Cat has been so dominant. Great matchup. I don't know if I'd make the rule. Maybe. I think it's really close to make the rule at least one Nick. If I'm only playing like 15 teams or something, I always talk about an MMA to try and narrow the player pool. Debated doing it with like the 49ers on Sunday. There was McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, Purdy, so much good stuff. Like that's how you can condense stuff. Yeah. Definitely something I'd consider. If I'm making 150, you don't need to, but all the prices are fair. You're getting a bunch of minutes. And even if it does blow out, you think it's on the back of at least one of these guys at a fair tag. So, yeah, great breakdown. And both side Levine or bust is how I see it. Let's keep it rolling. A couple big boy favorites coming up. Don't love to see that for DFS. Let's see if we can find something, though. Cleveland Cavaliers taking on Philadelphia 76ers. 218 total. Cavs 11-point favorites. Injuries in this one. Cavs, Jared Allen questionable. Sam Merrill questionable. Jared Allen is a big Q tag. Curious to hear if you have a lean on that. This game is at 7:30, so hopefully get it before 7 Eastern lock. Philly side, no Paul George, Maxey, or Embiid, and you will be seeing some heavy ownership in this one, especially on a guy named Jared McCain. Dude looks like a hooper, Rio. I want you to talk a little bit about him. The problem is, well, he's mega chalk now, so maybe not mega. He's going to be very high on his value, though. 11%. I think you can maybe double that. Anything else in this game? Talk about the Jared Allen stuff, and then Jared McCain, and then take it from there.
Yeah, I would expect Jared Allen to play. He was at shoot-around this morning, so probably likely to go. I still don't even think that, like, if he were to miss, it changes too much. Like, obviously, you're going to get a new starter. I would imagine it's George Niang, and then they slide Mobley up to the center spot, which would definitely increase his rebounding rates, but now we're talking about Mobley being almost 8K, and it's not cheap for somebody to pay in this type of game environment where I do expect Cleveland to win this game pretty handedly. Obviously, they're undefeated right now, but they've had a really, really easy schedule, so I wouldn't be – they're definitely not going undefeated or anything like that, but they're not gonna be like a 70-win team. Sixers gonna be without all the main guys. I mean, this team is just they're a joke. Like, they're so bad defensively right now, especially with a guy like Andre Drummond in the lineup. They're bottom 8th in rim points allowed, bottom 10 defensive rating, but it's gonna be a lot worse when you insert Drummond into the lineup. He's just such a poor rim protector, really good rebounder, but not a good rim protector. So this should be a really good spot for Donovan Mitchell. His minutes are starting to come up a bit. He got to 35 minutes last game, finally put up a big ceiling performance, put up 60 in that game against Chicago. Should have been on him more. I was on Garland just because I don't know, Mitchell's been kind of taking a back seat at times, and kind of by design. Like, their coach said that they put him out there to be a decoy at times. I don't know if that's going to happen again tonight, but, like, regardless, I don't have a ton of interest in these Cavs, but the matchup is very favorable for a guy like Donovan Mitchell. The Sixers do struggle against transition scores and pick and roll and in pick and roll possession. So this is, kind of lines up right with Donovan Mitchell. But outside of that, I'd be fine getting to Mobley if Jared Allen was out. If he's in, I don't really have a ton of interest. Not going to pay 7.3K for Garland on this big of a slate. I do think Ty Jerome is a little interesting in a game where they are projected to win by a lot. I mean, if Sam Merrill misses too, that probably opens up a little bit more run for Ty Jerome. He has a very weird rotation where he can literally finish out halves because he doesn't check in until the second quarter, like the 10 or 8 minute mark or something like that, and then he'll just play like the whole second quarter when he checks in if he's got the hot hand. And they're definitely looking for times to kind of spell Mitchell and Garland, because Kenny Atkinson pretty much came out and said that these guys are tired. They've had a very condensed schedule. They're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time. So maybe we see Ty Jerome's minutes come up a little bit. And this is more just like if you have 150 in that $5 tournament tonight, he kind of is a pivot off of some of these chalk point guards that we're going to talk about later. But definitely not somebody that's in play for single entry. And then on the Philly side, I'm not going to pay 7K for Kelly Oubre regardless of who's out. I just don't think that he pays that off. I'm not going to pay 6.6K for Drummond, who's just playing terribly, and probably, there's a good chance he might have even lost his starting spot to Gershon Yabusele, who's been playing a lot better than him. Caleb Martin has the best on-paper matchup. The Cavs are slightly below average DVP-wise versus power forwards, and he should play a ton in a close game. Not cheap, though, 5.8K for him. I'm not going to play Kyle Lowry. And then Jared McCain, I will definitely have a good amount of him. He's looked really good. He's a little dude. Like, I don't know how tall he is, but he looks tiny on the court. But he's a hooper. He's shot the ball 16-plus times in 3 straight games, and he's been lighting it up, put up 23, 27, 18 points in the last 3 games. I just think that they kind of have to have him out there. He's just been a very big spark plug for this team. So I like McCain the most on the Philly side, really the most in this whole game. That's kind of where I'm going in this one.
I'm with you, man. Like, we're going to get to, I think, some better games. Like this Knicks game, why it stands out so much. I didn't like the first two games much. I really don't like this game much. I mean, big boy spread. And we're going to get to another one with the big boy spread. But, like, playing Ty Jerome on an 8-game slate, like, you had some awesome calls. Like, I just want people to know what they're signing up for. The floor is super low. You do need the right game script. And probably I'd want Merrill out so you just have that extra security with, like, you still need him to do something, even if it does get garbage time. The Mitchell, Garland stuff like you talked about. I guess Mobley would be my favorite if Allen somehow missed. You don't think that's the case. He's expensive. Really just Jared McCain on this side. I don't like this game, so I'm not going to pretend I do. This next game is definitely interesting. Obviously, big boy spread, but some ownership in this one, and mainly this Pelicans side absolutely depleted. As you can see, all these random-ass names in the starting lineup and the bench. You see no Zion, Hawkins. We'll get to that, but 14.5-point favorites are the Thunder. We have a 225 total. Injuries on the Pelican side. CJ, DeJounte, Zion, Alvarado, Hawkins, and Herb Jones. Man, that is very, very sad as Pelicans fans. They're just with Ingram and then a bunch of other dudes. Thunder side, no Chet. Pretty sad there. He'll be out for, 4 to 6 weeks, do they say? 6 to 8?
No, he'll be out for like 10 weeks.
10 weeks. I saw his tweet. I thought it was 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. The same injury like he talked about, but no Caruso as well. All right, so ownership-wise in this game, it looks like to be the value. And the Thunder stuff is really like, so Jalen Noel's getting some for the Pelicans. Played 22 minutes last game. They just need his scoring. Brandon Boston, as you see in the starting lineup, I think he gets some ownership. Playing a lot of minutes, only 6K. Other guys like Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, all those guys I want you to talk about. You're talking blowout. This game's even 3.5 points bigger spread. Those guys will get run anyway, and then blowouts, they can even get more. But, like, I don't know how we can get to SGA or Jalen Williams, or Jalen Williams just center eligible. DK is ahead of it for sure. That's really interesting. Yeah, shout out to them. SGA, Williams, Ingram. Like, if this game's going to blow out and they're not getting their full run, I don't even know if I can play SGA over Giannis in a close game. So take it away, but I think you're just picking these value plays and then Brandon Boston at 6K.
Yeah, first of all, I got a couple of things to rant about because, I mean, how, like, somebody's got to get fired on New Orleans medical, like whoever is their like strength and conditioning guy, because I don't know how you can have these many guys injured this badly this early in the season. And they've been so bad at managing it too, because the Zion stuff, like he got injured middle of the game with the hamstring, went to the locker room, came back out and played almost 20 minutes in the second half, and then next thing you know, he's out for I don't even think they put a timetable on him. Like, he injured both of his hamstrings. Then Jose Alvarado got injured mid-game last time, came back out when they were already down by a ton of points, and now he's out for 6 weeks. So it's just crazy that they're just very, I don't know, very bad. Yeah, just it's crazy. And then the DK stuff, listing Jalen Williams as a center that's so weird to me that they just like pick and choose when to do stuff. There's so many times where you have a guy that's not like a power forward or like a small forward, they'll have him listed as a different position. They just don't change it. But then when it's Jalen Williams, he plays one game as a center. All of a sudden, he's only center eligible now. He's not a power forward anymore. It's just really weird that they do that. But yeah, they are on top of it for some odd reason. But yeah, the rant's over. On the Pelican side, it's really only two guys I'm looking to go to here. I do have a third one that's a little spicy take, but Brandon Boston for sure going to be out there for a ton of minutes. He actually led the team in touch time last game when Alvarado was injured. So I'm expecting something like that again, because Jalen Noel is not really your prototypical point guard. Like, he's an off-ball shooter, but they definitely need that right now. So those two guys are going to play a ton of minutes and have pretty big roles. I just don't see how you can pay almost $9K for Brandon Ingram in a terrible matchup, one, but two, the huge spread. And yeah, I'm not going to go $9K Brandon Ingram. Murphy is kind of interesting, but maybe they've learned from their mistakes. He's coming back off of a lengthy injury too, so they should definitely be treating him with kid gloves. He should not be out there for 30 minutes tonight. But if he is, he's interesting because OKC does give up a good amount of catch and shoot stuff. I think Murphy is one of the better catch and shoot guys in the league. He was a little rusty last game, shot 2 for 6 from 3, but still took double-digit shot attempts. So I don't mind him. Antonio Reeves is kind of the pivot off of Jalen Noel. Don't know much about this kid. I've seen a handful of minutes of him, but the coaching staff did talk him up a little bit. And he's been with the team all season long, where Jalen Noel just signed a 10-day contract a couple days ago. Or I don't know if it was some sort of short-term contract that he signed. But yeah, we just keep an eye on the starters there. That's another just like 150 in the $5 tournament. You pair him away from Noel and get a couple, like 2 lineups is enough to get over the field. But
for sure.
And then the last one I'll mention is Yves Missy. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Usually pretty good at that stuff, but he's another guy who got talked up a bunch by Willie Green. The reason I like him is because he was starting when Zion was healthy. Zion he needs like a stretch big by him, which is why they kind of wanted to run that small ball lineup with Herb Jones as a center, because they could stretch it out a little bit and just clear open lanes for Zion to get to the basket. And it wasn't really the case when you had a guy like Missy in there starting, where he's a prototypical big. Like, he's not going to be on 3-point line. He needs to be around the basket. So that kind of cleared up a lot of minutes for him last game. Played 30 against Brooklyn. A lot of different situation because Brooklyn has Claxton. They have prototypical bigs out there. They got Ben Simmons behind him, who's not taking threes, so he doesn't need to get pulled away from the basket. Same thing tonight with Jalen Williams starting. He will probably get pulled away a lot and probably loses some minutes, but that's just something to keep in mind on future slates when they do play a team that has normal 48 minutes split between 2 centers. Missy should see some minutes come up, so just something to keep in mind. Yeah, on the OKC side, SGA was awesome last game. Had a bunch of stocks. What do you have? 5 steals, 2 blocks. His highest career points per game, or points in a game, 45, put up 77 DK points against the Clippers. Definitely buried me. I didn't have a ton of him. And tonight is kind of the same. I'm just a little worried that we don't see, like, this game could be out of hand at halftime, and then he plays his normal third quarter rotation. Then maybe he doesn't play the whole fourth quarter. It's something I could definitely see happening. But he's been really good without SGA and Giddey off the court last season, averaging 1.77 fantasy points per minute. This season with Chet off the court, he's at 1.63 points per minute. So just elite numbers with Chet off the court. He could definitely get it done in 3.5 quarters, but I do like some of the other spend ups a little bit better. Jalen Williams, not really seeing that big of a usage increase, only 2.3% boost to his usage, but definitely saw his rebounding tick up a little bit, averaging 1.3 points per minute with Chet off the court. And the Pelicans are the worst rim defense in the league. His drives are up a little bit this season, averaging 11.4 drives per game. So he could definitely get it done. You're not paying the same 10K tag for a guy like Jalen Williams, just tough because he's only center eligible now. And then, yeah, all these secondary guys, Dort down to Case and Wallace, are very much in play tonight. I think that my top play would probably be Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe. But I would be lying to you if I knew which one was going to be the one to separate. All these guys are going to kind of play mid-20s to 30 minutes in a close game. I think that Joe is probably the safest because we've seen him play in a blowout sometimes. But they did call up some guys in the G League, so they're probably preparing to play pretty deep bench tonight. So not really somewhere I'm looking to go overboard on the values.
Yeah, first of all, for sure, Jalen Williams' ownership will stay in check because he's just center. People will get scared off of the spread. If I'm going SGA, Rio, if you're going SGA, are you almost guaranteed to go a Brandon Boston or a Trey Murphy or this center? I mean, I don't even think the center would really apply much. Pretty much a Boston or Murphy, hoping that they're keeping him in the game. Like, it feels like too much to go SGA Ingram. Or do you not really even care and you just think SGA gets there in 3 quarters, 32 minutes? Like, he just outscores Giannis and Wemby in that range.
I think it's possible he could just outscore them. I'm kind of thinking back. I think there was a point last season where there was a very similar situation like this where OKC was favored by double digits. I think they were playing the Blazers, and I think I mentioned like wanting to have a bring back, and SGA still put up like 60 DK points in 3 quarters, and you were kind of drawing dead if you paired him with somebody on the other side. So I could see something like that happening. But the thing that's different here is that Brandon Boston is going to have to play a ton of minutes. So that pairing does make a little bit of sense because you have multiple outs. Like if the game stays close, it's probably because Boston is doing, he's playing well. If the game is not close, we're still probably getting 35 to 39 minutes out of Brandon Boston.
Yeah, he'd be my favorite for sure. I would even throw Jalen Noel in that boat too. He's someone that can chuck the ball, get hot. He's cheap. He's already a solid play. So I'd even prefer those guys over like an Ingram. But I'm first of all, great memory that you remember that. But reminds me of football. I group myself out like these Bears running backs one day. I'm like, I'm never doing this again. Yeah, what if it is Ingram who has like 30 real points, still doesn't get their DFS wise, and he's the one that keeps it somewhat close. So yeah, I like it. I think I definitely like Boston Noel. And I think it's probably going to be one of these Dorts, Joes, Wiggins, Wallace of the worlds because they can get there if it does blow out. If it doesn't blow out, being value, Joe makes threes, etc. It's definitely a game you have to play, no doubt about that. We have 3 games left, and I think this next game is pretty rough, assuming Fred VanVleet plays. But we have a 2-14 total, not a big one at all. 4.5-point favorites are the Rockets. I mentioned Fred VanVleet. He is questionable, along with Steven Adams, which does not matter. Clippers side, no injury news to talk about. This one does not look like it's coming with much ownership, Rio. But if you want to like not play Giannis or SGA, you have Sengun, you have Harden. If Fred VanVleet plays, he's there. Zubac is way up there at 8.1K. The two that really interest me, definitely Sengun and Harden as contrarian kind of pivots in the upper tier with big time upside. Other stuff in terms of value, I think, or mid-tierish. I think Tari Eason is interesting. Dylan Brooks a little bit. Your boy Amen Thompson. But I guess just start with Fred VanVleet, questionable. He'd be the biggest. Amen Thompson, what probably starts for him. Do you see Fred VanVleet missing? Do you think he plays? Then how do you see this game?
Trying to find the beat writer because he did mention something about the injury, but I do think there's a pretty good chance that he misses, and you're probably backloading anyways because a lot of the best value is in this next game and in that Chicago-New York game. So good chance we would get that injury news early. I think they actually reported it like an hour or two before their game started last time. So we had plenty of time to react to actually, it was the day before. That's what it was. But yeah, I kind of think that Fred VanVleet has a good chance to miss. And if he does miss, you just go right back to Amen Thompson because all he does is perform whenever he fills in for Fred VanVleet, triple-double upside. Last year, he averaged over 40 DK points per game in spot starts for Fred VanVleet, and that was in like 8 to 10 games, so it's a pretty large sample. He would just be one of the best plays on the entire slate if Fred misses. I'm just going to talk about the Rockets as if VanVleet is out because I think that if he's in, you're probably just Xing out most of the team outside of like Tari Eason. I'll mention him in a second. But yeah, if VanVleet is out, I think Sengun would make a good amount of sense. This is a tough matchup. Both these teams are top 10 defenses right now and towards the bottom of the league in pace, but there's still a good amount of upside on a guy like Sengun because they did run a lot of their offense through him last game. He saw a 3.3% usage bump with Fred VanVleet off the court, and in the minutes without VanVleet this season, averaging 1.77 fantasy points per minute. We've kind of seen Zubac get beat up a little bit on the inside, give up some pretty big games to opposing center, so I don't think this is a spot you need to shy away from. I think that he is going to be very low owned and a pivot off of some of the guys in the center 8K range, which is really just Cat that's getting ownership. But I mean, he's definitely got big upside. Obviously, the matchup against Washington was one of the best ones, put up 60 DK points in that one. But yeah, I think that he's kind of finding his rhythm a little bit more, and the coach speak about wanting to run the offense through him definitely showed up in that last game. I faded Jalen Green last game, felt really good about that. He didn't do much. You just asking for a lot out of a guy that doesn't really get rebounds or doesn't really assist that much. So even if VanVleet is out, he's going to project a lot better. I'm still okay getting away from him. Amen Thompson already mentioned he'd be one of the best plays on the slate. And then Tari Eason I really like regardless of Fred VanVleet. I think that he's a pretty sneaky option. He's kind of always getting ownership just because he's a kind of, he's a fan favorite. But man, he's him and Amen Thompson, one of the best duos, like defending duos in the league. Like they're so active defensively. Jabari Smith just completely lost his touch shooting the ball. I don't know if you've seen those clips of him at Auburn compared to him now. I mean, it's just
He was
crazy
smooth at
how
Auburn.
yeah, and now he's just I don't know. It's got to be just a confidence thing because he's just completely lost his shooting touch. I saw him. He did okay in the minutes. I actually played a lot of him over Easton last game just because I thought that there was a good amount of leverage there, and it looked decent. Put up 9 boards, but shot 1 of 7 from 3. He's made 2 3-pointers over the last 5 games. He had a random game against Golden State where he made 5 of them, but every blind squirrel will find an acorn every now and then. Tari Eason, though, yeah, he's super active defensively, and the Clippers they have the second worst turnover rate in the league, or turnover percentage in the league this season. So he could see one of those games where he has like 3, 4, 5 steals and then just gets out in the fast break and puts up, 12 points, and he's a really good rebounder as well. So I like the pairing of Alman Thompson and Eason a lot if Van Fleet is out, but I like Eason a ton regardless. On the Clippers side, I just see this being a very tough matchup all around. Rockets, one of the best defensive teams. Really tough matchup for Harden. Definitely has one of the best roles in the league. Usage is way up there. The touch time, assist percentage, all that stuff it's him pretty much doing everything on offense. But yeah, the Rockets have a lot of really good defenders to throw at him, starting with Dylan Brooks, and then Alman Thompson will get in there for some. Tari Eason will get in there for some. So kind of enough matchup wise for me to get off of Harden when I do prefer some other spend ups and some better guards. And then Zubac just kind of a bit too expensive right now. Same for Norm Powell. He's been shooting really well, but I don't see that happening again tonight. So yeah, not looking to the Clippers and then all those guys I mentioned, the Rockets.
A point you made earlier that might go overlooked a bit is you naturally will probably backload at least a good part because of this Bucks Pistons. A lot of Bucks side Pistons have good value that we're about to talk about. So Fred VanVleet, maybe like if you're debating a 2v2 or something like that, and it has someone from a later game and then an earlier game, maybe that's when you side with the later game. But remember, only 1-7 Eastern game. Obviously, the 30-minute before their start times when they're supposed to get it out. If it's 40 minutes, that is before 7 of the game's already locked. We'll get that news. You'll have time to adjust. So if you're playing the main slate, you have to be around your computer from at least the start time at 7 Eastern to 7:30 when Fred VanVleet news comes. So very important. Jalen Green gets a bump. I think Sengun's good either way. He'd be the one, even if Fred VanVleet's in, a pivot from the Towns, like you said. I think people would go Miles Turner. Again, we're going to get to Giannis and stuff up top. Sengun just can't be played much at center, and he has a lot of upside. Great breakdown, though. 2 games left. Next game, obviously very important. Milwaukee Bucks taking on Detroit Pistons. Not a big total, 212.5 in terms of injury news in this one, though. Dame is out again. Ryan Rollins, who started for Dame, had a great game, is questionable today. Other side, Detroit, Jaden Ivey out, Tim Hardaway out. Simone Fontecchio out, Azure Thompson out as well. Marcus Sasser definitely gets a big bump. But looking at this Pistons team, pretty thin. Malik Beasley, I think, is very interesting. I think Sasser's interesting. Cade Cunningham, you always talk about him at 9K. Is he a pivot up top? And then Bucks side, if Ryan Rollins plays again, shot the ball well yesterday, min price at 3K. We'll start for Dame. He will be mega popular. Can you get off of him? Obviously, Giannis, though, talk about him, will be the chalk spend up with value. Like if Ryan Rollins plays, Giannis, Rollins, 2 people, a lot of people plug in their lineup to start, gives yourself a lot of salary. I mentioned Sasser's 3K, Beasley's 4,200. I think this Ronald Holland guy's interesting at 3K. This is why stars and scrubs can work, is this game right here. Take it away.
Yeah, I can see myself getting easily 5 people in this game. Obviously, you mentioned Giannis. I think he's going to be one of the best spends on the slate. You got to be quick memory and just kind of forget what he did last night because that's over. Like tonight's a new slate. But yeah, it is kind of big news with the Ryan Rollins stuff. And I don't really know how confident I would be in him playing because he got ruled out towards the end of the game last night. Was playing really well. Made 4 out of 7 threes. He looks legit. 5 steals in that game too. So if he's starting, like he's easily probably the best value on the entire slate because we know that. He was trending for 30 minutes probably last night. But it was a shoulder injury, so I don't know how that would heal overnight. Have to definitely keep an eye on that. There are pivots because you mentioned Marcus Sasser. I'll start with the I guess like the macro matchup stuff, the Bucks been really big letdown defensively this season. They're getting a little bit better, but they've become a very big 3-point funnel, which was kind of in line with where they were last year, allowing the second least rim points per game and the fifth most 3-pointers per game. Pistons kind of profile very similarly. Their rim defense has been really good. Getting Duren back and Isaiah Stewart in there definitely helps. But they're bottom 5 pick and roll versus pick and roll ball handlers this season. Don't really have any pick and roll ball handlers right now with Dame out. This would have been a really good spot for Dame. But yeah, on the Pistons side, I really love the spot for Cade. This is kind of what I was alluding to with the Jalen Brunson side, because I did core Brunson when they were playing the Bucks. I was kind of thinking in the back of my head, like, if Andre Jackson is starting, I want to get off of Jalen Brunson. Not that Andre Jackson is such a lockdown defender, but the DVP numbers were really skewed early in the season for Milwaukee because they had Gary Trent Jr. and Damian Lillard as their point guard and shooting guard, and they're just not it defensively. Last night was similar, but they didn't really like. I wanted to play quickly if he was full go, but they didn't. He obviously didn't play, and there was. I mean, Grady Dick had a really good game, so it kind of goes to what I'm saying. Like, they put out AJ Green and Ryan Rollins out there, who, like, AJ Green is a white guy that is just a shooter, not going to be a good defender. Sniper. Derry Bird.
Yeah, there you go.
And then Ryan Rollins, he's just a rookie, so you can't really expect too much out of him. I would have liked. I should have just like IK-beat it and got onto some Grady Dick, but I was more on the RJ Barrett stuff. That definitely did not work out, and Grady was really good last night. So yeah, the starting lineup would definitely matter for me, because if it's Andre Jackson off the bench, who's also coming off of an injury, then I really love the spot for Cade. I mention it all the time with the role stuff for Cade. Some of the best role in the league, really, like up there with Luka and with James Harden and Jokic and stuff. But it definitely gets even better, and he's not looking at too crazy ownership. No Jaden Ivey, no Fontecchio, and then no Tim Hardaway Jr. If you just take Ivey off the court, it gives Cade a really big boost, averaging 32.5 usage rate, 47% assist percentage, 11.4% rebounding rate. All, like I mentioned it with Jalen Johnson, those are like the numbers you'd want to see of a guy that has triple-double upside. He did that 3 straight games, and then he broke that streak, but still put up good games in tougher spots. Against Houston, put up 50. Against Miami, I would say, is definitely a tough matchup, put up 44. And yeah, I just think that this is a really good spot for Cade. Makes a ton of sense if you're playing Giannis too, as a little correlation. And then if Andre Jackson is out, you're going to be playing a ton of Cade, so I love him tonight. Tobias Harris, very gross click, 6.4K, got a big boost. He's been shooting the ball really well, and this is a good spot for 3-point shooters. So I guess there are some outs for him to pay off, but I don't think that I'm going to get there. I'll be out on Duren and Stewart. They're going to be splitting the minutes at center. And then Malik Beasley, one of the best values on the slate in my eyes. I really love the matchup for him. He was really good last night. I had a couple lineups with him in there that looked pretty good. I don't think that he was really needed on that big of a slate with all the good value, but put up 31 DK points, shot 5-11 from deep. He's shooting the ball really well right now too. Made 12 threes in the last 3 games, taking double-digit shot attempts, and that's off the bench. So we could probably expect upwards of 15 shots from Malik Beasley, who's probably going to be their second best option on offense. And then I really like the spot for Ron Holland as well. He's min-priced. I think that he's the most likely to start. I saw a projected lineup with Sasser in there with Beasley as the small forward. I just don't think they're going to go there. Beasley is definitely more of a shooting guard. Ron Holland's your prototypical small forward. And that's a guy that they drafted really early last year's draft, so I think they want to get him some minutes. He has not shot the ball well early in his career, but the one thing I do like when I've watched some of these Pistons games, he's very aggressive, and I think that he'll definitely be given the green light tonight against this weak 3-point defense. So I definitely prefer Holland as a value over Marcus Sasser, but Sasser should get those backup point guard minutes, should definitely mix in for some shooting guard minutes as well, and we've seen him have success in the past. So he makes some sense as a value tonight as well. And then, yeah, Giannis, like, I don't really have much to say. Like, he's going to be super easy to get to. You should definitely get to him if you can. Tough matchup against this team that they have enough big bodies to throw at him with Stewart and Duren and Paul Reed and some other guys they'll put in front of him. So definitely could make it tough on him. But, yeah, I kind of think that you just play Giannis if you have the salary for him, which we should. And then I would pretty much drop all the way down from Giannis and just look at Ryan Rollins, because I'm not interested in definitely not playing Gary Trent. He's down bad right now. AJ Green, he's got some upside because he can shoot.
He's
But
expensive.
he's 4.9K. There's probably better options because that's all he does is shoot. He shot 14 threes last night, which is wild. But yeah, it's really just Giannis and Rollins. Like I think you could easily start your lineup with like Giannis, Rollins, Cade, and Holland and Malik Beasley, and then just fill it in. Like that looks really good to me. And I mean, the game should stay close. 6.5 point favorites are Milwaukee. Detroit they've hung around with some better teams, and Milwaukee is definitely not that good right now. So I could see them even winning this game, even being shorthanded.
If Ryan Rollins is out, you think it's Delon Wright or Andre Jackson?
I think
Wright
it would
played
be
a lot when Rollins left, and he's like
Yeah.
a traditional point guard, but
I think it would be DeLon Wright.
and he'd be good. You'd like him, right? 3,800.
Yeah, for sure, because he does a
solid-
little bit of everything. Yeah, he's a really solid rotation. He does a little bit of everything. He had 5 steals last night.
Yeah, no, I would like DeLon Wright a good bit too, but again, it's 8 o'clock, 30 minutes, so hopefully we get this news 40 minutes before, and we could adjust if he was out. But like I see, someone said he was probable. I'm still seeing questionable. If he plays, he's obviously a great play. I saw the Discord. Andre Drummond, like 20 minutes ago, was downgraded to questionable with an illness.
Man.
That's interesting. Yabusele would be the biggest beneficiary there, and even make plays like a Sasser, a Beasley, even worse plays. I think Yabusele would be very, very strong right there, as well as McCain in that same game. But then these would become even more pivots in the value tier. Obviously, different positions. Yabusele's just center, I believe, right?
He's got power forward.
That's nice. That's very nice for sure. But yeah, just wanted to shout that. All right, last game, Rio. Awesome stuff. 7 minutes. Talk 55 minutes. You're on a roll. One last game. Don't see too much ownership when looking at first glance. I see Wemby at 15%. Nobody else in this game above 10%. 224.5 total. Spurs, Wizards. Spurs, pretty big favorites. The story of the slate at 10. Injuries, no Sokan. Malachi Branham is Malachi Branham is questionable. Other side with the Wizards, absolutely nothing to worry about. I mean, it's pretty clearly Giannis, and then SGA and Wemby will be lower owned. I think it goes Giannis, Wemby, SGA. He is just center eligible, but again, you can play 2 on DraftKings. Outside of that, I think Chris Paul would be my other favorite play. 6.5K, fair price tag, coming off a 40 spot. Like, again, he's one of those guys. 13% usage, 42 DK points in 29 minutes. He's just so good with Wemby. The assists are always there. A sneaky good rebounder for his size. 6K is up there, but he's going to be low owned. I don't really love too much outside of that. Can you talk me into anything else?
Not really. This is not a great game to get deep into like the Detroit game, but I did want to touch on Richard Payton said he's probable. I'm still seeing questionable on
That's
Ryan
what
Rollins.
I brought up.
Okay.
I'm still seeing questionable, so.
Okay. As far as this game goes, though, it's pretty much just Wemby or bust. I think you made a good case for Chris Paul. But you mentioned like the usage rate is really low. I really like watching Wemby and Chris Paul together. It's very smart for San Antonio to bring him over at this point of his career, but they look really good together. I will say the matchup is great. The Wizards are the second worst DVP team versus point guards right now on the entire slate. So he should be a really low-owned option. That it's just tough because point guard that's a spot where you probably want to spend down or spend all the way up. It's kind of similar to center in some ways, but I just don't know if there is enough ceiling for Chris Paul on this slate to get there. But he's probably worth getting 5.
Better night play slate, of course, the 3 games.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you told me he gets 40 at this percentage, I'm in. But yeah, point guard, like if Rollins plays, is very strong. McCain, he has shooting guard eligibility though. But if you're playing Rollins, you only got one other spot if you're on double center. So good point.
Yeah. This is it's just a great matchup for these Spurs. It's just tough because they are running a pretty deep bench, but this Washington team was kind of what we would expect defensive wise. Like they're third worst in defense. They do play fast, which is good in terms of getting some more possessions in this game. Spurs have kind of played over their heads defensively a little bit, I would think. But yeah, I think Wemby is arguably as good of a spend as Giannis. I don't want to say better, but like he's the only other guy on this slate with true, well, I guess you could say like SGA has shown 70-point ceiling. Definitely some other guys do, but I would not be surprised at the end of a slate when the night's over if Wemby's the top scorer. I mean, this is the best matchup for literally the best matchup for opposing centers. Washington
who's
is
guarding
dead
him?
last.
Like Sarr's going to have to would get
it's gonna
foul
be
trouble
Sarr.
in 4 minutes, and then who?
Joval.
Yeah, he ain't guarding shit.
Yeah.
They're
definitely it's going to be Sarr because the Washington coach pretty much like left him out there to die against Sengun. Like they pretty much said like we want you to make mistakes. Sengun made him look silly a lot. Like he really put it to him, and it's a little bit different with Wemby because he's not that same type of center. He's been shooting a lot of threes this year, and I mean that's good for his upside because he definitely has the double upside, the block upside. But they're not gonna put him on the block and just have him back down Sarr. But it doesn't matter because he still has huge upside in this matchup. Washington's giving up over 2 blocks per game to opposing big men. He's one of the few guys in the league that can get triple doubles with steals or blocks. I think Dyson Daniels is the other guy, but he literally could get a quadruple double. Like he was close to it. Actually, he wasn't close to it a couple nights ago, but he did have 9 blocks and 9 rebounds against the Clippers, I believe. The thing with Wemby is he's struggled in matchups that you would kind of anticipate him to struggle against. Only put up 23 against OKC, 30 against Dallas, 34 against Minnesota. But then the matchups you would kind of expect him to do good against, put up 60 twice against Utah, 70 against the Clippers, 71 against Sacramento, which I don't really think is an easy matchup, but it's not the most difficult. But this is a matchup you could probably pencil him in for 60, I would think, and he's got upside for 70 for sure. So I'm going to get a ton of Wemby. I think Stephon Castle is very interesting at point guard, shooting guard, 4.7K, pivot off of those guys in that range. Definitely doesn't have the same upside in terms of points per dollar, but I've liked what I've seen out of him. I think if Branham misses, it's a lot safer floor for Castle. He saw 30 minutes last couple of games that Branham misses, and the other 2 games that Castle was starting and Branham played, he saw 25 and 25. So kind of just a sneaky spot if you need some pivots in the later games. If your early guys aren't doing well, I think Castle is pretty good. And this kind of game environment, I think, suits his play style. Turnover-prone young Washington Wizards team. They struggle to defend and transition. Kind of lines up right with what Castle does well. So he makes a little bit of sense as a cheap guy that's going to be low owned. I saw Sean liked Jordan Poole. Whenever Sean is on Poole, you should have some interest because he's the Poole whisperer. I don't think I'm going to get. I'm not going to get there though. He's expensive, and I don't know. I kind of like Stephon Castle looks like a really good defender. I think that they're going to throw him on Poole, and that's kind of he's not cheap. He's 7.6K with Kuzma returning. It's very tough for him to reach a ceiling, I would think, on this big of a slate in that type of matchup. The one guy I will mention though, Bub Carrington, I think that he's interesting at 5.8K because he's got triple-double upside. And the matchup against the Spurs is actually a pretty good one. Trying to see the numbers I have here. They are, over the last week, the Spurs are allowing the most fantasy points per game to opposing point guards, and he's been playing a lot of minutes. They kind of want to get these younger guys more involved, and he's played 30+ minutes in 6 straight games, topped out at 37 against Miami, almost put up a triple-double against Memphis, was 2 rebounds away. He's very active with the steals, and Wemby is turning the ball over a ton. So there's going to be some opportunities for him to get a lot of steals. I think that having a little correlation with Wemby and Carrington makes a little bit of sense. Don't have to go out of your way to do it, but definitely somebody I'm going to be bumping up when I'm making my 150 lineups tonight.
I like the shout. Another guy looks like Josh Hart on paper. Like he can have a 10% usage and still get you 35, 40 DK points. Just will fill up the stat sheets. Mid-tier, no one's really going to play him. I don't hate it. Your Castle call makes a lot of sense, too. I mean, he's not afraid to shoot. 11, 16, 11, 8, 10. Fair price, shooting guard eligibility as well. Yeah, I like it. He's probably better than Chris Paul, actually. That set 1,800 goes a long way, and you get shooting guard eligibility. I think you talked me into that, but
he's such a stud, man. I've really liked watching him. Where did he go in the draft? Is he like the 10th pick, something like that?
Let's see.
He actually might have gone higher. I think he was maybe a top 4 or 5 pick. I don't remember.
Yeah, he was 4.
Yeah, he's good, man. I kind of wish he fell to my Jazz because we could use somebody like him. But
Who's I think it was Suns buddy that absolutely cannot shoot at all. I saw someone quote like, y'all worried about Bronny at 55 while this dude's on a 40 or something? Who is that?
Like what's this? Is like Osadoro or Osagoro, something like that. He actually played really good last night, but against my Jazz. But
that did not shoot one shot, did he?
Nah, he was just getting boards and steals and blocks. But he's got one of the like up there with
that's worse than
like
Michael
Sean
K.
Marion.
Gilchrist.
Yeah.
Sean Marion, Michael K. Gilchrist. I think that thing might be worse. What's going on, Trevor Bryan? That's all 8 games. Awesome stuff for you. Again, there's 3 games on FanDuel. If you want to check out the Stone, get over there. You can check that out. If you want to pause it, I probably allowed you a little time to do so. We will have Showdown content up, though. Shout out to Rio shipping to yesterday. Always in there. A great slate. Here, I'll click it. A great slate breakdown that he always has. I'll show the format. Cores, his captain exposure, some notes about captain, flex, and then how he sees the slate playing out. Again, a lot of members have had success. If you can't be by your computer during lock time, play some Showdown, play the night slate. We have projections, ownership. For everything, showed the Stone, GPP core report, cash reports, slate plan. Rio puts a lot of time into as well. PGA, locks tomorrow. Check out the streets. MMA this weekend. College football always going on. Of course, NFL tomorrow. No better time. Get in. ShipItNation.com. Our best deal right here already includes NBA 15 as the promo code, $85. Everything on the site, Discord, Shiptimizer. If you want other plans, go to Join the Nation. You can check out weekly, 6-month, annual. If you want Shiptimizer, everything there. Select your package you want. Get in the Discord if you do join as well. Absolutely, Sean, by far the best. To be honest, I don't even know if there is any other Showdown content, so if you're the only one, you got to be the best, but I'll give Rio some props. Definitely does a great job.
I'll take it.
Rio, final thoughts, and then, hey, I want you to send this out. You show BJ a good ship it. Final thoughts and get us on out of here. I'll click the button.
I just kind of had a little like gratitude thoughts before getting on the show today. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that kind of allows us to do this. It's been a very good season so far, and yeah, we're looking good, looking hot already in the Discord. Had a lot of winners over the past couple days, couple weeks. So looking to build upon that. And yeah, let's you ready to get us out of here?
I'm ready. You take it away.
All right. Let's ship it.
Let's go.